Pay for 20 hours of work? Get 20 hours of work. Posted by Renical. This happened last year and I've been waiting months to share the inevitable fallout, so please enjoy this lengthy tale of corporate stupidity. I'll begin by saying that I work for a software company. I was working on a project for a client to customize part of the software and stuff, and the project was very open-ended, mostly because the client kept changing their mind about what they wanted. So the contract was time and materials, meaning that I had an hourly rate, so I would log all the time worked on the project in half-hour intervals, and every week my company would bill the client company for the hours spent on the project. The client said that they didn't care how much effort it took, they wanted a good product and they wanted it before the end of the year so they could present it at their big internal meeting. At the beginning, the project went great. Every week I had a meeting with the client and I would get feedback on the progress as well as any new requests they might have, and then I'd spend however long it took to implement the changes. I'd bill them 15 hours, 20 hours, 25 hours, or however many it had been. Slowly, over time, the client started requesting more and more. I told them during the meeting, this feature will require X days of work, and changing that will require Y more days, and so on. But again, the client insisted that they needed all those extra features. They also complained that the project wasn't advancing quickly enough, and insisted they needed the project completed before the end of the year. I talked to my manager and explained the situation. To be able to finish quickly enough, I needed to work full-time on this project. My manager moved my other projects to different people, and we told the client that until the end of the year, I would work full-time on the project to ensure that we will hit all the deadlines. The client was overjoyed. For about a month. The following month, the client is ticked and is demanding to know why we're charging them so much. I pull out my timesheets and explain that, as agreed, I've been working full-time and more on their project. Every week, I've logged between 45 and 50 hours of work, and I have detailed notes specifying exactly how I've spent that time. I'm not particularly concerned about being accused of stealing time because I'm a fast worker and most tasks have been completed more quickly than the original estimates. Besides, I point out that now I'm working twice as many hours as before, so it's costing the client twice as much per week, but I'm also completing tasks twice as quickly and will be finished in half the time. The client, unfortunately, doesn't appreciate my use of logical reasoning. They accuse my company of taking advantage, and they say that starting from next week, they no longer want to pay for more than 20 hours of work per week. I tell them, sure, we can do that, but it's October already and you want the project completed by the end of the year. Given the amount of work still left to do, I will need more hours to finish. The client doesn't let me explain and says that we're not to bill them for anything more than 20 hours per week. They will not pay us for more than 20 hours per week, and they want this in writing or they'll cancel the entire project. And my manager says, of course, the customer is always right. Now this was an evil act of malicious compliance, so please read or listen until the end before getting angry at my manager. He's a great guy. So my manager sends the client an email confirming that, starting from date, my engagement with them will be capped at a maximum of 20 hours per week. He also attaches a spreadsheet of the estimated time to develop all the new features of the project, how many hours I'd spent so far, and how many hours I projected to spend to complete it. The client smugly acknowledges this. Before the end of the week, my manager gives me back my other project as well as a new one. You see, at the time we were understaffed because we were growing too quickly and we were getting more requests for new projects than we could handle. So there would have been no point in stealing hours from this client and ticking them off, when we can take on a couple of new clients instead and bill everyone for the actual work and keep everyone happy. So, starting from next week, my new schedule is 20 hours with whiny client, 10 hours with client B, and 15 hours with client C. It works great for me. It doesn't work that great for whiny client. At our next weekly meeting, one of the features they requested isn't ready yet. At the following meeting, I tell them that we'll need to move the deadline for the next milestone by 2 weeks. Then it's the beginning of December, and they ask me if I would be able to make some last-minute changes and still deliver the project by the end of the year. And I say, oh, there is no way the project can be finished by the end of the year. We have yet another meeting with the client and my manager. My manager asks me why I'm missing this huge deadline. I say, hey, do you remember when I was talking about all that work that still needed to be done and how long it would take? In October, we estimated that the project needed another 60 days of work, and I worked 10 days in October and 10 days in November because you said the 20 hours max per week. It's going to take about 40 more days of work to finish the project, and it's December. Even if I work overtime, there are not 40 days left before the end of the year. Manager is like, yep, makes perfect sense. Client does the shocked Pikachu face. They act like this is the first they've heard about not being able to meet the deadlines, even though I've been telling them for weeks. Unfortunately, they are the kind of person who never listens to what they don't want to hear. At first, they wanted the work done quickly, so they didn't think that if I worked more hours that I would bill them for more hours. Then they wanted to be billed for fewer hours, so they didn't consider that I would work fewer hours on the project and things would get done much more slowly. Unfortunately for the client, who would like to pretend that we were springing this on them at the last minute, we had tons of emails to show we had told them well in advance. My manager's email back in October had even included an estimate of when the project would be completed based on the number of hours worked per week. Our butt was well and truly covered. Now, as for the fallback, the client kicked and screamed and demanded that I go back to work on their project full-time, or even that my company should provide a second person to help me meet the deadline at the end of the year. It's January and the project is still unfinished, so you can guess how well that went. Client had to move the big presentation of the new software and was not happy about it, and about having to explain it all to their own CEO. But hey, we told them very nicely in corporate tones to pound sand. I was already scheduled to work on 2 other projects for the next few months, and it had been hard enough to put me full-time on this project the first time. My manager is not going to leave another 2 clients hanging, especially not to please whiny client who keeps changing their mind and threatens to cancel their contract every other week. As a company, we do our best to keep the client happy, but there's a limit to everything, especially when someone goes out of their way to not listen when we try to explain how cause and effect works. An update. Thanks for the awards and kind comments. They're cheering me up as whiny client has just received the total hours I worked in January and takes issue with how long each task is taking. Because, of course. To clarify a mistaken assumption I've seen, both me and whiny client are women. Unfortunately, she is our only point of contact with the client company. I'm hoping she'll not renew the contract, but I'm afraid that she needs us and our sales team wants the money. The new contract is being negotiated right now, and hopefully it'll have conditions that prevent this repeat of a crap show. OP, the thing I really like about this malicious compliance is that you told them plain letters, hey, we're going to need more time, we're going to have to be billed more time, and they say, oh, okay, we need a buyout at the end of the year, and then it's just like, okay, well, here you go, and they're like, oh, why is this not done like we want it to? We told you the rules, you followed them, you gave it back, you acknowledged, and you still have issues. Way to go, OP. Hope it all works out. I'll clean my office. Posted by EA with odd tasks. I, 30-year-old female, have worked at the same tech company for 10 years come April. In my entire working career, this has been the worst year, 2023. Every week seems to be worse than the last. For the first time in a long time, I went home in tears last week. As a result of multiple employees quitting or changing departments, I had to handle a lot of work. I'm a single person supervising a team of 3. That was my assumption, at least. I was yesterday years old when I found out that I had another employee reporting to me. Cue the story. My CEO returned from India yesterday, and boy did I know it. While I ate my lunch at my desk, dry cereal straight from the bag with my hands like a starving heathen all while still working, he repeatedly stormed into my office, screaming about this and that. Par for the course, really. But then, the said employee and his work were addressed to me both passionately and loudly. I can't believe you let this happen. Why was he working like this? How was he trained this poorly? And lastly, why does your office look like an evil scientist's laboratory after a tornado hit? There is far too much dangerous equipment, a mini refrigerator and a water cooler. You need to move it and do something about all this paperwork. Make your team help you clean your office. Now, it should be noted that 1, my boss is English as a second language. He meant to say remove, but he said move. And 2, I have no previous experience with this employee. And 3, I have no idea what he does or how he does it. However, how could I not have noticed that he was doing it poorly? Now, in between mouthfuls of cereal, I tried to calm him down to no avail. Sir, I've never done this and I couldn't have possibly trained him on this. I didn't know he was under me until today, so I wouldn't have known. And this is all unfinished work, but yes, I plan to clean my office. He continued to loudly and passionately speak to me for wasting time, reiterated that I needed to clean my office, move the dangers, and then promptly left my office, only to skip our important evening meeting. To be fair, due to my insane workload, my office does look like a tornado hit, but it's all unfinished work that needs to be done, and I know very well he was intending to say remove. But a direct order from my supervisor and CEO cannot go unheard. Since this year has been insane, I've put on 20 pounds from a combination of increased work time, stress, and stress-eating candy. So I had already ordered an office treadmill. I was waiting for the chance to bring it all in. Well, I'm under strict instructions to clean my office and move my dangerous equipment, so I might as well do it. I cleared my desk, moved a stand-up desk adjustment piece onto my desk, put my other 2 monitors on monitor stands, added my treadmill, hit my desk chair, and put all my paperwork, which was spread out across my desk, into one large pile. I relocated the mini fridge and moved the water cooler by about half an inch, all on the clock. When my CEO walked into my clean office, he was very clearly not pleased. His face was magnificent. I continued cleaning, missing many important meetings along the way. And let me tell you, the treadmill has been divine. Watching my head bobbing in meetings is delightful. There's an edit. Backstory. I started as the receptionist, and I'm now the department head of procurement and administration, the executive assistant to the CEO, the corporate office manager, the corporate tax document preparer for the CPA, and temp AR lead, to name a few. Just basically translate it to office witch, but I am obviously insanely busy. Now, why, you ask, do I do all this? I was told to quit or marry the company, and it's obvious the choice I made, and my coworkers often tell me they hate my husband. The CEO and I joke around that I'm the redheaded stepchild my Indian CEO never had, and he is the disappointed Indian father that I've never had. He's seen me grow up and thinks of me as family. It's a tech company, and, like many, we are having issues. It's been a rough year. It's not a perfect job by any means, but it pays well and has benefits. I'm also comfortable. Also, I think you're all missing that I did all of this, and there were and will be no repercussions. It's not all as bad as it seems, just chuckle at the story. Now here's a new edit. My boss came back into my office at the end of the day, and I guess he was just displeased with my cleanup because he saw my treadmill and he told me, "No, you can't have that, it's dangerous." I died. Now while I realize that everyone is well-meaning, one story doesn't give you a glimpse into everything. It was carefully curated with me sharing it in Reddit on Mind. Yes, my boss yells, and yes, I do a lot of work. Yes, I am stressed, but it's only been 3 months into the year. And please take into account that everyone is different. I'm a feelings-based person, and my boss is a logic-based person. We make one heck of a team, but sometimes we're on the same page in different books. You know, it's always the best kind of MC when the boss gives you instructions and you literally follow them even though it's not what they mean. It's the spirit of it. As you can see with the picture of the office here, I think OP did a great job at this malicious compliance. And although they don't get along with their boss all the time, as we see, they did an awesome job here. Way to go, OP. I ruined the corrupt company for millions of dollars. Click the video on your screen to hear it next. You won't want to miss this insane story, and I'll see you there.